Big fluff.
Yes, folks, it's true. I said I'm going to go hump the fridge. What you may not know is I also own a bottle of Dick cream I fondle my sweaters, and I often like to smear mud on my ass. You're probably asking yourselves, isn't he a weirdo? Outcast? Loose cannon? Maybe, I don't think so. I want to introduce you guys to someone. This is my friend. I don't know who he is, but I do know this. At a time when I was trying to hide myself from myself, he was there to show me a new way. Because I couldn't hide from him. And I can be proud of who I am. I put it to you. Campfire as we spend the last dinner together. Be proud of who you are. Look at me, I made it, I'm okay!
Hello again, I'm Joel Murphy.
And I'm Andy McIntyre.
And this is Silver Linings Playback, the podcast where we watch maligned movies and we find their silver linings.
And we are wrapping up our month of summer camp movies, watching the cult classic summer camp movie, Wet Hot American Summer. And here to talk about it with us, we are so glad to have you on the show, the director and writer of the movie, David Wain. Hello, David.
Hey, guys, this is awesome. What a nice thing to do.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for doing it. And just to let you know, because, yes, normally we talk about, as we said, maligned movies. The format, we talk about the reasons that they're maligned first, and then we pivot to all silver linings at the end. Luckily, with this movie, Andy and I both absolutely love it. So the first part's going to be short.
This movie's been plenty maligned, though. Don't make any mistake.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about was just, kind of that initial release. It premiered at Sundance, had a very limited release, and did take a while to become a cult classic that it is now. But I just wondered if you could speak to that a little bit, the sort of early.
Yeah. We made this movie independently and took it to Sundance in 2001. And the screenings were super exciting, and it seemed like the audience liked it. But there was absolute crickets when it came to trying to get a distribution deal. We were, I remember so well the agents standing outside the screenings, like with their notebooks, like ready to take in all the offers and start a bidding war, and there was just nothing, zero from anybody. And it was many months later that we got a very sort of bottom-feeding, last-ditch deal from this company, USA Films, to put it out. And then it barely was released. It got very bad reviews and made no money, and that seemed to be the end of it.
Which I would imagine was that for you, because when I think about the state, you all had such early success, like that where you were sort of formed in college and had this show. So this was like your first movie. Were you not expecting, were you thinking that it was going to have a big? Well,
we had the experience with the state, almost the same thing, where the first season came out and got horrible reviews. And I think it just, I do feel like there's a connection to the particular style of comedy we do that certain critics don't know how to categorize it or don't know how to contextualize it for themselves, or they're not finding it funny and they don't understand who does and why, and so it brings out a certain hostility and a certain just like, what the fuck is this, And so yeah, we've had. I was used to some pretty extreme hostile reviews.
I just find that really not surprising because it's weird. A weird thing about comedy in general is that it never rubs critics the right way, or the ones that do are usually uninteresting. But no, this movie it definitely I think appeals to a very certain niche audience. And
well, what's interesting though is you can't be like, screw you, you did laugh. Like, you know, if you didn't laugh, if you didn't find it funny, then what can you say, you know?
I did see a quote from you, though, where you said that people who hate it, if forced to watch it a second time, a lot of times end up loving it.
Very true.
The second time through.
Yeah.
What do you think that is?
I think because I think some people watch the movie thinking they're watching Meatballs or Heavyweights or something, and then they see it's a little different, and they're just like, wait, this just has a different rhythm, and I don't get it, and I don't like. And then maybe the second time they now know what it is a little more, and then they're like, oh, and they're starting to see more of the intention, I guess, you know, and they're like, oh, okay. And I've very often heard people say I didn't like it, and then the second time it became my favorite movie.
Yeah, well, I think because it has the bones of a spoof of the camp genre, like
Right.
that is definitely like, but it's different because it's a lot of it's like jokes and tropes and things like that aren't just playing with that of the camp movies, and it's sort of doing its own thing that it's hard to explain to someone. Oh, and then when he said, "Hey guys, can I join you?" and then they just stand 3 inches from the wall, that's a hard
Right.
joke to explain to someone.
What is interesting is for both me and Michael, I think we were inspired 99% by our own summer camp experience and 1% by camp movies. Like I haven't even seen most of the summer camp movies. And I don't even think that's really a huge genre. It was more, we were just spoofing life and art in general. And then just actually trying to express the joy of what summer camp was for us, you know?
Is it true too that the Ken Marino plotline is based on your real experience, like a real experience you had?
The real experience I had was I drove a bunch of kids up to Mount Katahdin in Maine when I had just gotten my license like 3 months before, and no, even less. My birthday is August 1st. Oh my God. Anyway, so I barely knew how to drive, and I'm driving like an 18-pass van with a bunch of campers up to this mountain trip, and my job was to leave them there, sleep over, and then come back the next day. But I left at night because I wanted to see this girl that I had met. And so super tired, I'm driving through completely pitch black, unpaved, winding mountain roads. And I slammed the van into a tree, slapped on the accelerator thinking it was the brake, and got it completely lodged in there, and then was lost in the woods for a while.
Yeah, the joys and the joy of camp.
Yeah.
Was it therapeutic to get to exercise that in a movie?
It was pretty fun, I gotta say.
Yeah.
And we did look for a van that looked just like the one we had.
Oh, nice. Well, I mean, I think, Andy, that probably does it for the maligning part, right? I think we can pivot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like it. Yeah, I think the best statement about this is that on first viewing, if you don't know what to expect, this is a very bizarre movie and very hard to get. And then you're like, oh, wait, okay, I see what they're doing. And then you realize
Also,
that
it's been 25 years too. Like, I think, you know, tastes have maybe caught up to it a little bit more.
Well, I think, with shows like I Think You Should Leave and things like that very much play into similar comedic. And I mean, the people in this movie did a lot of the best comedy work of the next 25 years afterwards too. I mean, it's Bradley Cooper's first movie, among other things. So, you know, it's classic comedic actor Bradley Cooper.
And I definitely think like a Tim and Eric type of audience is going to be more prone to understanding what this is than audiences at the time. For sure. All right. So we're going to cleanse our palates here, David, and this is all going to be positive from here on out.
Oh. We're back.
That's the right reaction.
We got some early notes that it wasn't clear the splitting between the two halves, so we wanted to just make sure
You made it very clear.
Okay, good. I'm glad. But yeah, as I said, I mean, Andy and I are both huge fans of this movie, and I think one of the things that Andy was already talking about that I think is a good place to start is, yeah, I mean, it's been 25 years, and this cast is amazing and has only gone on to do more amazing things since then. Like, you guys nailed it, like, with the people in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, needless to say, with any great movie, any good movie, even like a big part of it is luck. I mean, it just happens that Elizabeth Banks walked in off the street, her first movie, and Bradley Cooper, and that we were able to somehow cobble together this cast of people that so many of whom were such massive superstars in the waiting.
Because was Amy Poehler even on SNL at this point?
I think she was maybe had just started, or maybe not even. I don't exactly remember.
It's the time is a blur, but yeah. And then, you have also all the people from the state that, had already, at least among a certain subsect of people, had a pretty big name in comedy, but then like Joe Truglio goes on to do Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Michael Ian Black does a ton of things, and Showalter and it's all great.
Our big, one of the big ideas, the premise of the movie, of the making of the movie for us was, what can we do where we can have all our friends be in it? And so we said, okay, we'll do a thing about summer camp and just pretend that we're about 10 years younger than we are and just do it,
How does that work? Like, I'm just curious, over the years with the state, like, are you all constantly reaching out to each other? Like, I have a little thing for you. Like, is it kind of a loose,
I mean, we've stayed in touch as like a family, and we've continued working together in different configurations over 30 years. Very deliberately so, because we got together in 1988 because we all felt like we were very in sync comedically and loved working together. And so we have basically chosen not to stop. In fact, right now I'm in the edit room of a movie that I just did where I think 7 members of the state are in it. And 2 weeks ago at Tribeca Film Festival, they just debuted a documentary about the state. So yeah, it's been a really fortunate run.
I don't feel like there are a lot of, like, I don't think that's really precedented, is it? That kind of collaboration for that long. Like, I feel like there's usually like infighting or someone,
Yeah, I mean, we've had our share of infighting, but yes, I maybe like the I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I don't know. I think a good place to start with this movie is Christopher Meloni. I think that he is far and away one of the funniest things in the movie, especially for people that know him as Stabler from SVU, to see him playing this absurd Gene the cook. I mean, how did you, because he was, I would say, one of the bigger names. How did he get involved with the project?
Well, interestingly, he wasn't as big a name at the time. He came in and auditioned. I wasn't even super familiar with him, to be honest with you. He had been in Runaway Bride, and he was on Oz, and he had been in SVU. Definitely not a lot of big comedy stuff, but he came in, and we had written this crazy part, just like weird, on the page thing. And he came in and was so nuts. Like, I also will say, he did the weirdest, craziest stuff in the audition, which I do have somewhere. And then he did something even totally different on set. And then when he came in and did ADR, because we had to replace a lot of the lines audio because of the rain that was constant he did yet another thing. And so he just, every moment we were just like in agog watching this guy do this stuff. Like, it was wild. And, he's older than us and a little bit intimidating, and we're like a little, and so, and he's this kind of guy where you're like, I'm my first time directing, my first time on a set with a crew in my life, really, and I was just maybe, come here and like slam the door here or whatever. And he's like, and he looks, and his response is usually like this. And I'm like, or not, I mean, if you want, like, I don't know. And he was like, okay, got it. And he gave that insane performance, and he's incredible. And I've worked with him again since then. He's just the best.
Well, it's also fascinating because he's so funny in the movie, but then he gets as close to this movie comes as like the big inspirational closing speech. That's like the thing that Showalter's character needs to hear. That's also through him, and he sells that as equally, even though what he's saying is ludicrous.
Well, what I love about that whole movie, and what I try to do all the time, is, as dumb as it all is, we all try to sell it as deeply and as real as we can. And I'm doing that right as I'm very focused on this current project, and it's exactly the same thing. It is the most ridiculous story, and yet every actor and every moment we're trying to be like, how does this feel as real and as grounded and as, serving the most absurd thing,
Well, I think that's another thing that's great about Wet Hot American Summer, especially, is that it doesn't wink at the audience at all. Like these people, there is a very clear and solid fourth wall the entire time. Everyone's very committed to what
Except
they're doing.
when Mike looks in the camera at the end.
Except when Mike looks in the camera at the end.
Yeah.
Just to let us know it's all good.
Yeah.
I do. There is a specific. We kind of talked a little bit about Ken Marino's storyline before, but I've been fascinated with Marino for a long time for a specific reason, which I think is showcased in this movie, which is he is objectively a very handsome and charismatic man, and I think he sells that in the beginning when you sort of are introduced to him, and he's talking about like she's the only girl at the camp that I haven't slept with, but his ability to turn that into actually I'm a virgin and I've never like had sex before and she's my only chance. And I can never figure it out with him because it's just like this change inside of him. Like, I think you see it if you watch Party Down of like,
right.
It's like he makes it so you forget how handsome and charismatic he is, and he just becomes the most pathetic person in the world. Well, and I don't know how he does it.
He does variations of that. That's an interesting way to look at it. I would say that's a repeated thing that he's done with many characters in different cool ways. If you watch the other two, he's done that, and I think there's elements of that in Wanderlust, and I think he's got an incredible. I mean, he's amazing. I try to work with him as much as I possibly can because he's got just that amazing range to play that surface idea that you're blink of what you think he is, and then undo it in really cool ways.
And a heck of a singer too.
And a heck of a singer.
Well, since Andy brought that up, if I can take a moment to divert us a little bit to explain to you, I want to tell you how I watched this movie, and I think you will appreciate it, which is I watched this copy, which you can see is signed by you, Ken Marino, and Joe Truglio. And the reason I have this is because 2 years ago, my wife and I saw the Backyard Middle-Aged Dad Jam Band show, which I think might have been the first live show you guys did.
A Little Secret.
It was at a house. Yes.
Wow.
And so you had this signed DVD and you took it out on stage and you were trying to figure out who to give it to. And Ken Marino saw my wife, who is very pretty, and immediately picked her out of the audience and gave it to her.
That's really sounds so creepy.
That's actually why I wanted to talk to you about it. Like, I've been very uncomfortable.
You want me to have an intervention about this?
Yeah. Like, what's up with Ken Marino, like, trying to hit on my wife?
I'm like, you guys, I'm the idiot who didn't plug in the laptop. Let me just see.
That's okay.
Well, let's roll the dice. All right. Sorry. Worst case, it'll turn off and then I'll have to run down and get it.
But I just wanted to talk to you about that show because that was
how your wife felt violated.
Yeah, no, she's been upset ever since. She was such a big fan of you guys, and
is
then
she
now
getting therapy now.
Yeah. And I was actually going to see if I could send you that bill by any chance. Like,
well, that was close to our first show, and Ken Marino and I have had this middle-aged dad jam band that somehow has ballooned into a thing where we're touring the whole country, and we're doing an East Coast tour this July, and it's just a fun night of us, sort of amateur musicians playing covers and doing shtick and having fun.
Yeah, and the YouTube videos are fun.
Yeah, the YouTube channel is great. People should check it out. But no, it was so delightful for me, like the experience that we had. My dad is a drummer and used to play like all of these songs. Like I used to go to like cookouts and stuff where they would do jams like this. So like this is
the dad barbecue band.
Yeah. So, but no, it is so much fun. And you also Weird Al was at the show we went to, and that I have to imagine that's always a thrill. I would guess even for you to anytime Weird Al is just around.
I'm 55 years old. When I was 10, I was at summer camp in Maine, and I would get special equipment so I could find WTOS Top of Sugarloaf in Maine so I could hear Dr. Demento and hear the latest Weird Al songs coming out when I was 10. Now he's like hanging out with us and singing with our band. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But another great thing about the movie, to kind of tie it back to Wet Hot American Summer, is the soundtrack to this movie is great. Not just that Theodore Shapiro and Craig Wedren, like the score stuff they did, but also like Jane by Jefferson Starship got a new life as a result of this. And a few other songs too.
I was just going through it because we are going to play some of these songs maybe on our next touring for the summer. And I forgot there's so many great, like Turn Me Loose, Loverboy, and there's Harden My Heart and Beth, and like, it's great. Guys, I'm so sorry. I have to go get the
Okay.
plug-in.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
One second. You can edit. You ready?
Yes.
Oh, we've got juice now.
Oh, there we go. Heard that magic tone.
Exciting to see the Emmys in the background too.
Oh yeah, so this is my son's room. He insists on keeping the Emmys back there.
I would love it if that's what you did. If you just found a reason halfway through every interview to, I got to get up for a second.
No, it's really funny because I'm like, whatever. I try not to. I would have kept them in the closet, but he like takes them out and displays them in the window. Look at this guitar pick I have. Look what it says.
Oh,
Lumen.
That's cool.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I believe Adam Scott was there at the backyard thing.
That's
we
right.
Went to.
I think
Yeah. I saw him. Yeah.
And he got
I don't
to
know
be recast in the Netflix shows to play Bradley Cooper.
Well, we were talking about the music, and it does make me think too that there's something that I'm curious if you are aware of that's sort of a legacy of this movie and a thing that this movie inspired, which is, are you familiar with the pro wrestler Orange Cassidy?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I had, just in case you needed it, I did.
Yeah. And he plays Jane when he comes out.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out to Jane and he dresses like Paul Rudd with the denim and the glasses.
No, it's crazy to see the little permeations of where things have come into pop culture for such a tiny little movie that never got sold. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's gotta be like, because he's an incredibly popular character. Like, people love him, and it's very clear the inspiration. He'll put his hands in his pockets and be it's very much like the tray, like the picking up the tray. Like, he'll kind of be very lethargic.
That is very cool. I mean, like, I remember the very first time that, some news show had this thing and it said "Wet Hot American Bummer" about the weather or something. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, this movie's definitely it is in that cult classic category status because it didn't find much of an audience. Joel and I were talking before we started recording that, like, I can't remember how I came across it. Like, I was a huge fan of The State, so someone's like, "Oh my God, did you hear The State made a movie?" And it must have been that, but no. And then I remember renting it back when you could rent videos from video stores and watching it originally.
Well, what was funny to us is when we did the Wet Hot prequel series, when the news came out about that, everyone's like, the comedy classic, the unanimously heralded classic, and we're like, wait, no, that was never. That's not what you said when it came out.
What was like to revisit it and then to have, obviously I think all the circumstances are different. Like, now you have Netflix behind you, probably more push and support, like everybody's careers have really blossomed at that point.
Well, the effective budget was not higher, but yes, of course, everyone had very different lives and careers in every way. I mean, not just, I mean, in terms of being older and having kids, and also many of more successful and more busy. And then I was very reluctant to do it just because I felt like we did make something that was very special and specific, and to go back and like retread it. And there's so many pitfalls, you know, to revisiting something that much later in time. But I decided to, with Michael, to take on the challenge of saying like let's do everything we can to make this a great sequel, prequel, that where it's its own thing and we're not retreading, but it also is true to what the source material is, and, you know, and do the right amount of winky references to what it was, but also create new characters and its own thing. And so, and having the canvas of 8 episodes instead of just an hour and a half was really, I think, a key thing that made it work for me. And so I loved doing that. And it was also, you know, shooting in LA instead of in a real summer camp in Pennsylvania is where we shot the movie. And so to try to recreate the look and feel and the texture and the sets of all that, you know, in Hollywood was interesting.
And a lot less rain.
Yeah. Although it was freezing. We actually shot in the dead of winter. And so in LA, that's not that cold, but it is like, it gets to be the 40s at night, and it's really hard.
Well, I do like, since you're kind of talking about all that as well, I feel like probably people talk to you a lot about the writing and the comedy stuff, but like the thing that I want to talk to you specifically is like, as a director, and as you said, this is your first thing that you're really directing. I feel like, especially with the budget and all these restraints, it's incredibly ambitious what you're doing on like, I was just thinking that like when you watch the rafting thing, the kids are stuck, or just like you're wrecking a car, there's motorcycle scenes, there's like all these different plot lines that involve, you know, like space satellites falling out of the sky, or like there's a lot for you specifically to do. And I just like, if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, it was really part of the fun of it was, you know, we got this amazing crew, many of whom were early in their careers too, just being like, let's figure it out, you know, like and everyone loved the project and was like, you know, working, we were all living there. So no one needed time off really. Like we were just working 24/7 or just hanging out, you know, and like the art department put all this, figuring out this way to build this full size real Skylab, you know, like they would never do that today. It was just like, literally, it was like the size of a block. It was insane. And, yeah, and we had this guy who put together these stunts. And I mean, also the thing with those kids on the raft, I can't believe we did that. Like, like we really had these kids on a raft, like, again, never would happen today. But like, and I was like, they were like tied up and stuff, but oh my God. But
they're still feet from a waterfall. Like that wasn't.
And I was saying to the kids, scream, you know, like they were so scared that they couldn't even scream. Like they were but it was ambitious, but you know, we had the benefit on purpose of, there was a lot in there, but the whole movie's in one location and it's all during the day, almost all during the day outside, you know, so there were elements of it that were made a lot easier to do on the time and budget we had. But it was also shot on film on one camera, and it's just it was again, a lot of luck, but also fighting, what we didn't expect is fighting heavy rains every single day.
No, it's definitely one of those things that on repeat viewings, you just see the rain coming down the windowsills in every indoor scene. And the roads are wet everywhere. Everything is,
and anything that's like 1 inch off the frame of the camera is like heavy rain boots, umbrellas, mud, water.
Just movie magic at its finest.
Yeah. And no VFX, like none. Like we could today we'd be like, oh, just clean all that up. No.
Talking about the kids too, like that's always like the old thing in Hollywood of like, don't work with kids. But I think you do get some really phenomenal kid performances in this, particularly it was Gideon Jacobs, I think, gives a really great performance. Can you just talk about like the kids? Because I'm wondering, like, you as the director, I don't know, how do you prepare them for this movie specifically?
Well, one thing that kind of worked out is all the kids were from the local area in Pennsylvania. And so, as I recall, I think they were, I hope I didn't get that wrong, but I know we had a local casting there. It was like in Wilkes-Barre or Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Anyway, and a lot of it, I think it's really just casting. You have to just pick kids who kind of naturally are ready to do this, and that's the big one. And you know, you just have to make them comfortable, and you also have to quickly surmise what's going to work for them. You know, some kids are like trained and coached and sort of ready to do it, and then you have to tell them to just chill and not be so rehearsed, you know. And other kids are so inexperienced that you just have to create a situation where they feel like the scene is really happening and let them react naturally. Or some kids are you just got to be like, just say this, repeat what I said, and you know. But you know, some of the kid, like the one kid who played the DJ was not so great, and so we replaced his voice.
It's Sam Levine, right?
Sam Levine, who then played the whole character later. Yeah.
By the way, I do want to say too, like, of everything in the movie, there's something about the plot line of the kid just not wanting to bathe that, like, to me almost feels like the most grounded. Like, there's something just so true about that one kid that it's just like, look, before your parents pick you up, just one time.
That was one of many things that were right out of my life and out of our camp experience. And I definitely had that period in my life where I was like, fuck that, I'm never showering. Like, you know, I don't care what anyone thinks. That's just my rebellion.
I just like it too, because it's so, like, Michael Ian Black is just so metered about it, of just like, it's just as well. We've let it go the whole.
Do that.
Yeah.
I thank you. I really love that through line too, and it's verbatim out of my summer camp memories. Like, it's
I think it feels that way because there's some things that are so you know, like delightfully like heightened, but like I said, there's something so grounded about that plot line that it feels very real.
And there was always that kid who's like, and then me, I remember I was both a camper and a counselor, but I remember especially the younger counselors, which is what we were kind of trying to portray. When I was 16, I was a counselor at a camp, and I happened to get the oldest campers who were like 15. So it was like, there was no authority. And
right.
Also, I was 16. I didn't care. And so I'd be like, guys, you have to take showers. And they were like, fuck you, David. I'm like, all right, later. I'm going to go hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
But by the way, another thing that I is really delightful about this movie, and maybe speaks to why people, if they didn't like it the first time and then they like it on repeat viewings, is I feel like you're always picking up things that I never really appreciated before. And when I watched it this time to talk to you today, I don't think I ever really appreciated or caught the line, "It's just like Clute." Like that they said.
Right. Which is, because that was when I was a kid, I would just remember, like, somehow I was in my radar, what are rated R movies that have nudity in them, you know? Clute came to mind.
Yeah. Not Barbarella.
Not Barbarella.
Not
no,
Barbarella.
Definitely not. Definitely Clute. I think another thing that we'd be remiss not to talk about would be David Hyde Pierce being in the movie, because he is absolutely delightful. From when he snaps at Janeane Garofalo when she presses him a little bit in the beginning to, you know, mentoring the kids and everything. He was just absolutely amazing, and I have to imagine he was fun to work with.
He was awesome, and he was like, you know, obviously, you know, that he was by far the most famous person in the movie at the time, and he was obviously nobody's doing this movie when you're David Hyde Pierce unless you're just like, I want to do this because it's fun. Like, you know, he didn't need the $5 we paid him, and we sent him the script cold. Like, we had no connection to him. Sent it to his agent, and I got a phone call from him, and he said, a very legitimate question. We're like, is Janeane Garofalo actually going to show up and do this? And I was like, yes, I think so. And he said, and are you actually like playing it straight? You know, like we can play this straight, right? Like I'm not going to like wink the whole time. I'm like, yep, that's exactly right. And he was like, all right, I'll do it. You know, and then we went to go like make a deal with his agent, and the agent, which is so rare, was like, he makes lots of money on Frasier. Don't worry about it. Just like we'll.
Oh wow.
Everybody else. And so it was pretty awesome. And then he came and was like, yeah, he was so nice and fun, and like, you know, took everyone to dinner, and it was just the best.
That's amazing. No, that's really great to hear. Because I'm sure like at the time that was big to have like that.
Oh, it's massive. Yeah. He was the co-star of one of the biggest shows on TV, and everyone else in the movie, you know, Janeane was the other big star in the movie, and she, you know, had been in a few movies, and, you know, it was like, it was.
But great. She was even still more indie cred at that point, where like, you know, it was like reality fights and things like that.
She was like the darling of the indie Gen X scene.
But still great. I mean.
And Molly Shannon was popular on SNL. She was the other.
Right.
Big one.
No, and her arc is hilarious. When she breaks up with Judah Friedlander and gets mentored by her art students. There's so many good threads in this movie, I think, and like the writing too, I think really weaves everything together.
That's part of what was so fun about doing the prequel and the sequel, is like you were just like taking each thing and like opening it up as if it's like the Rosetta Stone of story, and just opening up all these weird through lines.
How often do you actually go back and watch this, or do you like when's the last time you've seen it?
The movie?
Yeah.
They showed it at the New Beverly here in LA, like a year and a half ago, and I took my son, who's a teenager, to see it, and so that's the last time I saw it, and I really enjoyed it.
How did that play for him? Like, did he like it, or?
He liked it. He's himself a budding artist filmmaker, and he's very focused on not being nepotism, you know.
Oh, so
he's guarded in his appraisal of his father. but I've seen it. I don't think I've only sat through it top to bottom. You know, maybe every 5-6 years at the most. And then, of course, though, when you make it, and when it first came out, I watched it thousands of times. You know. But particularly that one, because it was the first one, I went to the theater to like watch people watch it over and over and over. And I went to many festivals and screenings, and I just watched it a lot.
Are you able to like appreciate it as a viewer, or like when you're watching it, are you still as like the director brain still?
Now going? I think I really am, because it really is long enough ago now that there are things I forgot, or, you know, there's turns I'm like, oh, right, and somewhat disconnected from the making, you know. Of course you never fully, but like it was fun to go back and see it with a little bit of a fresh eye. Yeah.
Well, like I thank you so much for doing this episode with us and talking about the film, and it's just delightful. It's a perfect end, because we've been doing all these summer camp movies, to like the arc of this movie of just like how beloved it is now, to the point that people, I think, like you said, have forgotten that it wasn't always that way.
That it didn't immediately find an audience and then is phenomenal.
No, I'm very grateful that to have made anything that has just sort of transcended time, and, you know, that people care about, and it's wonderful. I'm very appreciative.
Well, and before you go, we've mentioned a few things, but anything that you want to say here at the end of, like, obviously there's the state documentary and middle-aged dad jam band.
I don't know the state documentary. I'm not sure even when it's coming out, but people should check that out. And middle-aged dad jam band. Check out our YouTube and come see us live. And then we have a new movie that will hopefully come out probably a year from now.
Can you say anything about that, or is it too early to?
Well, it involves Zoe Deutsch and John Slattery and John Hamm, and It's very funny, and I'm excited for people to see it.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's like I said, we're big fans of your work, and
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, The State is an important, I think, sketch comedy show for both Andy and I that we both really love.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Well,
everything you
I
guys
hope
have
you
done.
guys get a chance to see that documentary when it comes out. It's going to be good.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I do have to ask, like, does your son have like those Doug moments when he's like, oh, you mean Uncle Robert?
My relationship with him is so much like Doug. Like, because it's just like, get it? Like, it's okay. Your dad's not like uncool. Like,
I do think that's very natural, though, for any teenager
Any
to
teen,
not
yeah.
appreciate it. Like someday, I hope he appreciates how cool his dad is.
but he'll an example, like this is sort of a type of, like, he'll be like, you know, I'm going to go to a party with my friends tonight. And we're like, great, let's have a great time. And he's like, I knew you wouldn't be cool about this.
Well,
that's amazing.
Thank you so much. Also, yeah, just before we go again, if you could just talk to Marino for me.
Yeah, no, that's a, and you know what? I think he's going to probably take a step back, probably from the industry at this point, and just do some listening and some reflecting, and then put together an apology.
Okay, great. All right. Thanks. All right,
All right, have a good one.
Silver Linings Playback is a production of HoboTrashcan.com. If you enjoyed the show, please rate or review it on Apple Podcasts. Hear more great shows on the Peak Sloth Podcast Network. David, I am Joel's wife, Molly, and I'm that young lady over there that Ken spotted at the Middle-Aged Dad Jam Band show. And I just wanted to see if you would pass my number along to Ken. Didn't get it that night, but I know you know him. Thanks. If you could hook a girl up. See ya.